Warning, some viewers may be too lame to enjoy the following information. I'm sure you've heard that Copperhead Strike is the newest roller coaster to open at Carowinds, and you may have also heard that this past weekend, Copperhead Strike briefly ran one train on its opening day.
One train ups!
Now, I'm a former ride operator, and I figured I would try to explain the situation from what I saw. The ride is designed to run 3 16-passenger trains, and according to information released by the park, the ride has a theoretical capacity of 1,200 riders per hour. However, this requires dispatching 75 trains in an hour, which I don't ever see happening, but I wish the ride crew the best of luck in accomplishing that. Anyway, Copperhead Strike was experiencing a few issues on its opening day, which resulted in a few moments of downtime. I was actually in line to witness the ride going down, and here's what I saw. I was filming the ride, and when the train hit the second launch, the launch did not engage, and instead, the train came to a stop at the top of the launched airtime hill, and then rolled backwards to the bottom. I figured, there must have been some sort of fault which caused the ride to e-stop itself, which would have explained why the train on the second launch did not launch at all. Now let me make it clear that the train did not roll back on the top hat, it simply did not launch at all, and instead stopped. Then when I looked over to the station, I saw a train sitting in the station like normal, so that's 2 out of our 3 trains. But where was the third train? It turns out the third train was sitting further back on the brake run in the service brakes, where the train comes to a stop on the final brake run. That train was supposed to advance to the waiting brake, which is where the transfer track is right behind the station. However, it did not, and instead remained stopped in the block zone prior. Now if you don't know, roller coasters are divided into different block sections. A block is a section of the ride that only one train can occupy at a time, and at the end of a block section is a method to stop the train. This is a system that is computer regulated on modern day roller coasters. With the train still parked in the service brakes, this means that when a train enters the second launch, it is unable to launch because the block ahead is still occupied. So instead of the second launch accelerating the train over the top hat into the second half of the ride, it instead acts as a brake and stops the train from entering the next block. So essentially, the ride had an error where the train on the service brake failed to advance forward into the waiting brake behind the train loading in the station, thus the train running on the circuit advanced as far as the computer would allow it to until the block ahead was occupied. While the ride did have some sort of error, the block system did work properly, keeping riders safe and eliminating the chance of a collision. But I believe this error reoccurred several times throughout the day until the park decided to take off 2 trains and adjust whatever was causing the issue. I was actually filming my Copperhead Strike off-ride video and watched the entire process of the ride going down to 1 train operations, then briefly running 1 train, and then adding back the other 2 trains to go back up to 3 train operations once again. So yes, it seems Cedar Fair has a bad luck streak with their newest roller coasters running 1 train on their opening days. We all know what happened to Steel Vengeance last year on its opening day, where 2 trains actually collided, resulting in the ride to reopen later that day with just 1 train ops. However, that incident was different, and in this case, the block system on Copperhead Strike actually functioned correctly, as it should, and prevented any collisions. So yes, Copperhead Strike did run with 1 train on its opening day, but for maybe about 45 minutes at most. I was filming the ride the entire time it ran 1 train, and saw the crew add back the other 2 trains, which only took a few minutes. I also got to see how the ride rescues itself after a train gets stuck on the second launch. It appeared maintenance put the ride in manual mode, and slowly rolled the train out of the station and into launch 1, where it stopped in the shed. Next, they manually moved the train stuck in the service brake into the waiting brake behind the station, and then fully into the station. This would clear the block that caused the train on the second launch to stop. Then after talking with riders on the train stopped in the second launch, the ride recovered the train and launched it over the top hat. To do this, the launch slowly moved the train forward over the airtime hill and stopped it in the second valley of the launch. It then slowly pushed the train backwards over the launch and then accelerated the train down the drop. The train rolled backwards and then forwards again into the launch with speed, where the launch then fully kicked in and launched the train up the double up and over the top hat. This allowed the train to carry through the rest of the circuit and for riders to enjoy the second half. The crew then tested the ride several times and reopened it after that. Now what are some potential causes of this error? It is quite common for rides to create ghost trains, where the computer will think a train is occupying a block when it really isn't. This will either cause an error or stop trains from advancing forward due to the block that the computer thinks is occupied. There may have been an issue on a few of the trains where sensors on the waiting brake were not properly identifying that a train had passed through the waiting brake. This may have caused the waiting brake to still identify as occupied rather than unoccupied, which forced the train in the service brake to stop and not advance forward into the waiting brake like it should have. This then led to the train on the course stopping on the second launch because the block ahead was still occupied. Essentially, the train stacked in a weird location. All in all, it doesn't really seem to be a big deal, as this is common in rides with multiple blocks. The ride is brand new, and I'm sure small bugs like this will be worked out, as mock rides are typically very well engineered and have great reliability, as far as I know. Anyways, that is why I believe Copperhead Strike went down to 1 train ops.
1 train ops!
On its opening day. Feel free to discuss with me down below in the comments if you saw something different or have something else to add. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I will have a full Coaster Idiots video from opening day, as well as a full review video for Copperhead Strike coming in the next few weeks. Thank you for watching. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Peace out, mangs.